It all started when the HOA decided they wanted more control over my ranch road. They claimed it was a shared access route, even though I had owned and maintained it for decades. They sent letters, emails, and even showed up in person demanding I allow public use. I politely refused every time, knowing full well they had zero legal claim. But Karen, naturally, saw it as her personal mission to bully me. One morning, I drove down the road and noticed fresh tire tracks leading into the middle of my property. Someone had tried to mark it as public access. I followed the tracks and discovered a group of HOA enforcers setting up barricades. Karen was there, clipboard in hand, barking orders like a drill sergeant. "We need to make sure everyone can use this road. It's public." I walked up slowly, hands raised in calm. "Karen, this is private property. You are trespassing." She sneered. "I don't care. The HOA owns the right of way. You need to let people through." I sighed. "You want the road? Fine. Let's make it simple." That afternoon, I went to the county auction and bought the only bridge that connected the upper and lower sections of my ranch road. It wasn't a small bridge. It was the only one that allowed vehicles to cross the creek that split my land. Once I legally owned it, I installed a massive steel gate and locked it with a heavy-duty padlock. "No entry without permission," I wrote on a sign. The next morning, Karen showed up with her usual entourage, expecting to parade down my road. She slammed her fist on the gate, shouted at me, and demanded I open it. I stood calmly on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the performance. "Open this gate right now. The HOA has the right," she yelled. I shook my head. "You misunderstood. You have no rights here. The only legal access runs through this bridge, which I now own. Consider it closed." Karen's face went pale. She fumbled with her phone, probably trying to call the sheriff or some HOA lawyer. Every few seconds, she muttered under her breath about lawsuits and revenge. I just smiled, knowing full well that legally, she had nothing. The bridge was mine, the land was mine, and the road had been private all along. Over the next few days, the HOA tried various tactics, sending letters, posting notices, even putting up fake road signs claiming access. Every attempt failed because the bridge remained locked. I even installed a surveillance camera disguised as a birdhouse, capturing every futile attempt on video. It was like a comedy show. Karen yelling, waving her hands, throwing papers into the air, while I sipped tea and waved politely. One afternoon, a delivery truck arrived at the gate. The driver looked nervous. Sir, they said I could use the road?" I pointed to the lock. "Not without permission. And permission comes from me, not the HOA." He nodded, drove off, and I watched him cross the creek on the bridge I owned. Karen's tantrums continued for weeks, but eventually, she realized she couldn't fight legal ownership. She finally left, muttering about finding another road and dealing with this legally. Meanwhile, I kept the gate locked, ensuring the peace and privacy of my ranch. By the end of the month, Karen had disappeared from my property entirely. The bridge had not only secured my road but also taught the HOA a very important lesson. Never underestimate someone who owns the only access point. My land, my rules, and the bridge made sure that would never be disputed again. From that day forward, I drove freely down my ranch road without interruptions, knowing that one well-placed purchase had turned a headache into a permanent solution. Karen and her HOA learned the hard way that property rights aren't suggestions. They're enforceable, especially when backed by legal ownership.